Welcome everyone to the very special experience, Wedding Extravaganza 21, Chapter 2. We've had a day series of wedding planning workshops, and Lisa Best from Beautiful Weddings by Me is joining us for our very final workshop of the day. We're going to talk about those special touches for your wedding, as well as a little bit of update on wedding planning at this point, considering that we're in a red zone and hopefully moving into the next zone in the next couple months, and how you can adjust your wedding thinking and wedding planning accordingly in 2021. And for all you 2022 couples, what we're thinking ahead as a wedding industry in 2022. So before we get going tonight, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Nancy Campana. I'm the owner of Nouveau Event Planning, and I own and produce the wedding shows at the Gaboto Club, normally in September, the fall wedding event, in January, the Wedding Extravaganza show. And this year we did things a little differently. You all received a gift bag, which I hope you're finding very useful to help you with your wedding planning. And we also have been doing these wedding workshops. We do have our shop online page, and I hope you're referring to that often. It's the largest wedding resource directory online now in this region. And we are adding vendors to it weekly. And you can also go to our loyalty page on weddingshows.com and see what vendors are loyalty vendors. And if you work with those vendors, you can turn in your receipts to us once you get married. And depending on your level of spend, we have a gift for you for supporting our loyalty vendors. And Lisa, you are one of our loyalty vendors. I'd like to thank both Sweet Revenge and Anything and Everything, who did the backdrop for me today, provided the props and the decor for that. And I'd also like to remind you that if you don't have your first and last name as a participant, go to your participant button and make sure it's your first and last name showing, so that when we put you on the wheel for our prize, we can confirm that you are registered with Wedding Shows Windsor. So I would like to introduce Lisa Best. Lisa specializes in designing beautifully styled weddings and events in the Windsor, Essex County area and abroad. That means you'll travel, right, Lisa?
Absolutely.
From intimate occasions to luxury weddings, her team understands your vision by creating unforgettable memories for all to enjoy. Lisa is currently celebrating 20 years of successful business here in the wedding and event industry locally. So welcome, Lisa. It's great to have you back. You're a wealth of information about all things wedding. And today we've talked to a decorator, a rental company, photographer, a wedding officiant. Again, we talked to a wide range of people, but I wanted to end with you today because you can kind of pull everything together for our couples that have joined us. So let's start with what 2021 wedding season is shaping up to look like, Lisa, and how do you see weddings looking in regards to COVID restrictions for 2021?
Sure. Well, after I think the overall message that we received at the beginning of the year in regards to large events occurring this year, they probably wouldn't occur. I think truthfully that panic has kind of settled a little bit. We've accepted it. We're rolling with it now. We had a couple of weeks to kind of navigate that plan B. It definitely forced a couple to reimagine, revision, and recreate something, like to think about their wedding day. Like, how are we going to celebrate it now this year overall? Yes, there's going to be questions. Yes, there's going to be concerns on my end, couples end. We're gonna work through it, and I believe that 2021 will be a successful season for sure. On my end, it was very difficult because a lot of, I was trying to guide my clients in the sense that there's a lot of emotions, right? Emotions were at an all-time high. It was completely overwhelming. So truthfully, all in all, there was 3 options that were offered to my couples. And I really made them think about, to consider what was really the most important thing with respect to that guest list. So the first option, number 1, was keeping their wedding date this year and planning it smaller size, obviously taking that guest list and decreasing it. Secondly, was keeping their wedding date nuptials only, and then partying later on. So either taking that reception, postponing it for the following season, or even 2022, and then altogether postponing. So it's just basically rescheduling your date, keeping that plan A. So Nancy, just to kind of give you an insight, I think I posted this the other day regarding my own personal business experience and what I've been dealing with this year with couples. So it's good for couples to know what other couples are going through, truthfully. I've had 9 postponements this year till 2022, in part because they're large numbers, right? It's culture. You can't, it's very, very difficult for some couples to be able to take that guest list and decrease it. And because of that too, you really think of that guest list, majority of them, they reside out of town. They're over the border. So we don't know when that border is going to open. So for my couples who actually made this decision, I'm 110% behind them. They did make that right choice. To continue, I have 7 that have been undecided. So this year in particular, some summer, majority are going to be fall. They have like a mid guest list range, around 100 guests that, crossing our fingers, we're being optimistic that maybe some restrictions will be lifted a little bit to allow for this. And if not, it's okay. We may have to do some last minute planning, go with the flow, but we're going to make it work overall. And then the rest of my events are all micro weddings, 25, 50 guests maximum. We're completely taking plan A that we've been planning for quite a while, throwing it out the window, redoing that checklist and starting over with plan B. But I think, Nancy, to answer your question, how, in regards to COVID restrictions, the most important thing overall, our intention, our goal is just to ensure that we are following protocols to a T. We have to, making sure that all these restrictions as well, we're following those. But most importantly, we want to celebrate safely.
Yeah, and Lisa, um, when you look at all the zones, it's 50 and 100 once we get to the next step. It doesn't change through going from zone yellow, I guess would be next, or orange. Orange
Orange,
to yellow to green, the restrictions are the exact same on
yes,
weddings. So,
they are.
I think realistically, most of us in the wedding industry foresee that that's what 2021 is going to look like, and we're hopeful, very hopeful. I think that 2022 will look a lot better for those who want bigger weddings. But for those who have always wanted the small wedding, this is a perfect year to be married, right, Lisa?
New trend.
Um, so with the anticipated smaller weddings and possible restrictions on dancing this season, Lisa, do you have any ideas you can offer today on how couples getting married that have very cultural traditions, what they can put in place to incorporate those cultural elements to their weddings without dancing?
Yes, absolutely. So I think, again, it's all about adapting, finding those fun, alternative, unique ways, still following restrictions, but definitely, coming out of the box and thinking differently, right? And again, it also depends on what stage we're going to be in, because realistically, that's the most difficult factor we're dealing with, because it could change 1 week prior to your event. So last minute things, but if there's no dancing, it's okay. I just say make it fun. And in making it fun, it's more about the entertaining factor, bringing things, for example, if vocals not permitted, then why not consider instrumental, strolling minstrels, right? I've had that at a couple events. And if you can't stroll, let's station them, right? Depending on live, again, restrictions and if live entertainment's allowed. Tassa bands, drummers, interactive performers. Again, guests may have to be stationed at their table. We can have the outside perimeters filled with different special events. And realistically, if you're on a tight budget, it's okay. I just say play pre-recorded cultural music on an in-house speaker system when it's appropriate. Little things like that. Nancy, I have some more ideas though. Incorporating other elements. How about props? It could be garlands, it could be shawls, little cultural items that you can put in a welcome basket, and as guests arrive, why not pick one up so they can be part of the fun? Menus. Choose those favorite dishes and incorporate those. If you're Japanese, bring in the sake, some sushi. I love mini tacos for the cocktail period. So, actually, this is a great idea for fusion weddings, because in speaking with cultures, you can tie in 2 cultures together, kind of like with a little foreign twist type thing. But the last and most important thing in dealing with incorporating these cultural elements, it's about the visual. And I always say it's all about the eye, right? Your focal point. So bring those colors, right? Not even the colors, but how about the fabrics? Put them in the linens. That's a great idea of how to incorporate that. Even wedding cakes, I can see that can be designed to be culture inspired, right? Let's find the perfect spot in the layout to put this cake so it's that focal point and everybody can see it. That's exciting. It's a wow factor. And the last thing I have is floral arrangements. So think back to your country where you belong. What's the most popular flower that can be grown there? It could be birds of paradise, something like that. So let's incorporate that in the tables. But no matter what is actually incorporated or you're bringing into your wedding, I say just make it about reflecting your culture and making it personalized, make it you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of venues and decorators are even more willing than ever to help personalize
Yeah.
events and make this day special for couples, knowing what they've been through and the changes they've had to make. So I don't think you should be able to be afraid to ask your suppliers to think outside the box along with you.
No, not at all. And actually, that's what they're there for. They're helping you with your theme, your vision. They're pulling it all together, the overall design. So, yes, very useful, very helpful.
So if dancing is not allowed at weddings once again this season, what can couples consider to schedule that maybe their timeline differently or to add some elements to their wedding for activities for their guests?
Okay. Um, so yes, absolutely, timeline is going to be different for sure. The biggest concern and the biggest question I have from my clients is, what if we can't have it's a danceless wedding? My guests are going to be bored. They're going to want to leave. Well, let's think about first of all our time restrictions, depending on our restrictions, right? So if they're saying 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, midnight, whatever time it's going to end, utilize that time, regardless if there's dancing or not, right? Entertainment, that's where it comes into play. So again, we've touched base on some of these, but that is the part where it makes it a lot of fun. You're trying to keep them busy. But in speaking with the general timeline, with this topic about micro weddings, a lot of them are now starting, or they're actually hosting ceremony and reception at the same venue. And being that that's the case, I say start later on in the afternoon, obviously. There could be a first look that we can do at 2, 3 o'clock, and then start that ceremony at 4. It's usually only 30 minutes long. And then from 4:30 till 6 o'clock, there could be the cocktail period. This enables the opportunity for the couple, their parents, parents, family members to, find an alternative location on site to get their pictures done. And then the guests are mingling. But one thing definitely that I suggest is that cocktail period should not be any longer than an hour and a half, because no matter how much you entertain them, Nancy, they want to just see the couple, right? They're antsy. They want to see. So let's move on. 6 o'clock, dinner time. Okay, introductions. Guests are sitting, waiting. They're anxiously, want their meal. This beautiful meal. It could be several courses. It could be, depending on the service as well, could be completed by 8:30. And then I like to finish it off and close it off with the couple's speech, which is the most important thing of all, followed by the cake cutting. And then if there's no dancing, entertain. Let's bring in those key things again to utilize the rest of the evening before everybody has to go home. But typically when we're talking about the timeline, I always suggest to think about your preferred dinner time first. So if you do want a 7 p.m. dinner, we need to work with that. You're going to have a later ceremony start. All events usually are going to be coordinated and scheduled based on your dinner.
So are there any entertainment ideas that couples could incorporate into their indoor or outdoor wedding to take place the place of dancing, Lisa?
Yep. So I did mention some already. I have definitely a couple more suggestions.
Okay.
Live painter is amazing. I've had this at 2 of my events. I absolutely love it. The creativity. If you've ever seen an actual painter paint, we have so many local talented artists that you can bring into the mix. And what they're actually going to do is sit there throughout the meal and create the atmosphere on canvas. And then once they're completed after dinner, they display it. And it's definitely another wow factor. It's so awesome to see. And I've also seen, actually, depending on your numbers, that you can have the painter paint individual little portraits of the guests to take home. It's a beautiful keepsake. So that's one idea. Another one definitely is the photo booth idea. I know we can't mingle, but let's social distance. Let's follow those guidelines. Maybe a sign-up sheet, right? For those particulars who have to stick together within their household, the couples, it could be families. Pick a allotted time slot, visit, and in between, we'll ensure that everything is sanitized and clean, between each couple or family who's being visiting the photo booth. Another thing is table games. And truthfully, depends on your formality of the event, but I have a lot of fun-loving couples who would love to incorporate this for sure in their event. Videography. So Nancy, I'm sure when you go to weddings, there's always that videographer that's trying to get those clips or little messages from guests, right? So that their couples can definitely look back on it and cherish those moments. Well, now is a perfect opportunity. If the guests are stationed, right? Now the videographer can get more one-on-one with their guests. They can sit there, get every message, right? And put them on a video. And again, it's cherishable. It's a very great experience because that day goes by so quickly. And lastly, speaking of actual well wishes, it's more like advice cards. So stationery, correspond with your invitations. Put those advice cards or little stationery on the tables with a personalized pen, possibly. All those congratulatory messages. Let's put them away in an envelope. Have the couple open it in 1 year's time when it's their first anniversary. So these are different things. Again, it's keeping them busy, keeping them entertained so they are not bored, and the time goes by smoothly. It's transitioning that time.
I'm just going to add a couple points. The photo booths, I know that a lot of people are concerned about putting people in a little booth. There's a lot of companies that have the mirror that you're not,
Yes.
the photo mirrors, which are really, really COVID restriction friendly. So that's something to consider. Once again, if you go on to the shop online page, we have a number of photo booths that are offering Wedding Show Windsor specials that have the mirror. So take a look at that. I'm thinking like trivia games, like a Family Feud might be fun. Even putting decks of cards out on tables where people, because we're talking about smaller and intimate weddings where families a lot of times sit around and play some euchre after dinner, so think outside the box. People are just want to socialize and hang out with each other, I think, in a more intimate atmosphere. And people are used to being home and just kind of doing things, the simpler things in life again. So
Great, Nancy.
yeah. Since weddings are going to be smaller this year, couples are going to want to treat their guests to a more special experience. Can you go through some of the ways that they can do that?
Sure. So again, speaking of micro weddings, they're more intimate, more personalized, more one-on-one, right? Less formal could be more fun, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. Remembering this, the smaller the guest list, the more creative you can actually be. So it's kind of like a couple asking themselves, really, what atmosphere do I want to create? And in doing that, you need to visit the budget. Do we still have that original budget from 200 guest list? Are we now 50 guests? If you can spend, if you can't, it's okay. So we'll work with it. But in providing that special experience, it's upgrading those elements. It's something that actually I kind of discussed in the first workshop, right? It's those little enhancing those little details and little things like floral, an abundance of floral. How about some premium floral selections? And make sure your guests take them home, right? They'll love that. Like, don't let them go to waste at all. As well, the tablescape, the overall design, right? Let's incorporate some luxurious items. I see a lot of fine china now being rented out, as well as upgrading furnishings, or even local vendors. A lot of great decorators have these beautiful chairs. Why not rent them if it's within your budget, right? Just to make it fit within your style. So enhancing, right? As well, customize the cute little things. We have napkins that can be placed with your guest's initial on them. It also serves for the seating arrangement. So dual purpose, even coasters with your guest's name on them, and it's a keepsake to take home. Food, surprise, delight them, make it unique, more courses, specialty desserts. You can even include some rare wines or champagne, and go back to the days where I started wedding planning. We used to have, Nancy, I don't remember the strolling liquor cart that used to visit the tables. So again, if our guests are going to be stationed, that after dinner drink is really important. Make it more convenient. So really, that special experience is all about the convenience. It's making them feel like they're catered, they're spoiled, right? Put yourself in their shoes, and that's what kind of makes that overall effect.
Specialty food service is always a great way to add a special touch to your wedding day. What are some of the specialty food ideas that you find exciting and fun and new, Lisa?
Okay, so this is actually my favorite part. I love wedding food. So offering selections that are loved by all. And what does that actually really mean? These are the things that we do not consume or we see on a daily basis, right? So one of the options actually that I've seen on one of the past weddings I just did was individual charcuterie boards, right? Wineries, like little individual, we can't share. So anything that's individual, and I don't mind that at all, that's a great idea. As well, you can gelato carts, espresso, cappuccino carts. Okay, yes, social distancing. If not, you can't get up and we can't socialize that way or mingle, then how about bringing it to the tables, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Doing a custom order type thing. All those variety of flavors, those toppings, we all love those, right? Those are still very popular. One delectable dessert actually, and it's my absolute favorite, is the crepes. Remember the crepe carts? And if we can't have a buffet station, again, it's okay. My suggestion is have like a pre-order sheet on every single guest's plate. Have them fill it out during the cocktail period, all those special fillings, toppings, sprinkles. And then throughout, we can collect them throughout the meal is being prepared. And then when it's dessert time, voila, like everyone's getting this, extra Nutella and extra whipped cream. And I would love that. So, and then late night food is another option. How about those late night trucks? And if that's not in your budget, even in general, to keep that late night food, those personalized pizzas and poutine, things like that. It could even be sliders. The possibilities are really endless and definitely yummy.
Gifting guests will definitely be an added element, it seems, for many couples this year, as they have a wedding budget that looks a little different, a little bit more to spend per guest head. Do you have some great guest suggestions for gift ideas, Lisa? And we're going to open up the chat line now as well.
Okay, perfect. So topic of discussion, yes. So it's going to be smaller weddings. So two options. Okay. How about a handmade wooden box to fill all these amazing little items or goodies inside? So what you can do is, when I say this, I say, think and support local. There's so many vendors out there that have handmade soaps and these beautiful little mini candles that in these variety of scents, and these cookie makers out there are, it's like a piece of art now. So we can include those kind of things in there as well. Thinking safety, how about sanitizer or little tissues, because there's going to be lots of tears going throughout the day. Personalized toasting flutes. There's so many different things that you could put in this box. When we are thinking outdoors, because there may be a lot of more outdoor events, how about even like a hand-woven reusable tote or a little basket, and fill with items if we're going to be outdoors and make it chilly. So something like, I always say, how about a cozy, warm, fuzzy blanket? We could put, ladies, we're going to be putting our heels on. It's been a while, and our feet are going to get sore and dig in the grass. So why not some sandals, flip-flops, include those in there. And if there's a bonfire, why not like sparkling wine with little plastic champagne flutes or something, goblets that we can personalize. So definitely whatever we put in there, there's different suggestions. I always say to actually place it on the guest's chair, because that's another wow factor. Very exciting to come in and walk in and see this gift, big bow. But the most important thing, Nancy, that I'm going to close off with is whenever, like etiquette wise as well, whenever you're giving a guest a gift, it's really nice to include that handwritten heartfelt message. That little thank you note is everything, right? It goes beyond any gift that you can give. It's most cherished completely. It's appreciated, just to know that they're there sharing in your special day.
I think that's a really good suggestion. And I'm going to ask you, etiquette wise, if you give your guests a gift and you do put that little handwritten note of thank you in that box or whatever that gift may be, would that take the place of a thank you note after the wedding, Lisa?
Technically, no. They say it's just like putting an actual little personalized tag on a bonbonniere or a guest favor. That's a way of saying thank you, but it still is nice, because realistically, when you're receiving your gift, you don't know the gift you were given. So it's nice to still, in turn, possibly say another thank you for the actual gift that you received.
Okay, so we do have the chat line open, Connor?
Yep.
Okay, so the chat's open for anyone that wants to ask questions. In closing, Lisa, what is the best planning advice you can give couples planning for their 2021 wedding, and the best planning advice you can give couples for planning for 2022?
Okay, well, so truthfully, the uncertainties 2021, we don't know again, right? I just say have faith, go with the flow and have fun with it. Regardless, the most important thing is you're getting married that day, celebrate it, enjoy it every minute of the entire day. But don't wait. Truthfully, the best advice for 2021 weddings is don't wait till the last minute to do your plan B, because venues are booking up quickly. If you do have the intentions of changing some items, let your vendors know now, not at the last minute. Revisit that policy, those contracts, because there could be stipulations regarding postponements, cancellations, even if you're changing your venue. So if you're getting married in the city and now you're getting married out of the city, there could be the possibility that there's going to be some transportation fees, right? So just to be prepared in that aspect of 2021. But again, these small events are nice because it gives you the opportunity to spend quality time. For 2022 couples, you know what? You have lots of time. Start that wedding planning process going now. Enjoy it every step of the way. The more you get done now, the more organized you'll be. And that allows, for a more stress-free process along the way. And not just that, but even the smoother transitions. In case there's anything along the way that needs to be changed, you'll be prepared for it, right? And that's definitely key in planning ahead. But overall, for both 2021, 2022, or even 2023 couples getting married, the most important thing is to stay alert, stay focused with all these guidelines. If the pandemic is still in place, we still have these restrictions are changing quite often. We know that, right? We're trying to week to week trying to keep up with everything. So just ensure that you're on top of that.
And I think one thing we talked about in our first chapter of the wedding planning is rely on the people that you're hiring. Your suppliers are people who do weddings for their living, right? For their lifetime. So make sure to lean on those vendors to help you. You're hiring them, you're paying them, they're there to help you and guide you through. You don't have to make all the decisions yourself. Pick their brains a little bit, and I'm sure they'll help you, move in the right direction and do that confidently. So
True.
we have a question from Runa. What would you suggest to keep chocolate favors from melting at an outdoors wedding in August?
Oh, good question. It totally depends on where it's going to be placed in. If it's an outdoor venue, sorry, was that included in the question? It was
It's
an
an
outdoor.
outdoor wedding. Yes, it is an
Okay, so
outdoor wedding.
depending, maybe it can be not placed on the table, maybe brought out afterwards, after the dinner or prior to their departure. Even a little notation or saying that this is what you will be receiving. Like, you could do like the tent card and just saying this is, in honor of this is what we're going to be doing, celebrating. We're going to be handing out handmade chocolates from this particular company. They will be distributed after. And just the fact of everybody coming out with one big basket and handing them out. So definitely, yes, we need to keep them from not melting. But there's different things that we can do. It's all in the timeline, right? And having somebody or be able to perform that task and bringing them out and handing them out to everybody. And that's actually really a nice touch is, you're being handed your guest gift. So it's kind of cool.
Adriana is asking, so we're having an outside wedding at our aunt's farm land field. How would you transition the ceremony scenery to the reception scenery, or would you just combine it all together?
I like different events. I truthfully do because your guests are starting out in one area, and then there's a middle part, that cocktail period. You need to get those pictures done, and then there's the reception part. So if you're able to definitely utilize the entire space, it's all about the layout. It's creating that layout ahead of time. Be mindful of if any musicians need plugs, you have to look at it where everything is situated, obviously on site as well. But dual purpose. So for example, if you're having chairs that you're renting or you need for the ceremony, it's okay, have somebody transfer them over to the reception area. But definitely, I think that making them totally separate is the best idea. It's a wow factor.
Perfect. So Lisa, we're gonna go on to it.